Today, we look at the role of the public service for effective delivery of civil and public service na the country. Well, for sake of that, I want to welcome na the program Amara Kalon, the Minister of Public Administration and Political Affairs. Good morning and welcome to the program. Good morning, Salon, Mr. Kalon.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. Good morning, 98.1. Good morning, listeners.
And inside the program, we expect Charles Silva, lecturer, Political Science Department, from Bay College, University of Salon, for help we discuss this topic we don't choose for today, as the revamping the public sector architecture now a key priority inside present bill in government, and one way it been promised the people of Salon within a revamping public sector architecture and how important this day for national development and service delivery. Make we discuss this program today as the Ministry of Public Administration and Political Affairs charged with the responsibility for do the public service reforms. How far they don't go and how important this they make we get a Marakalo na the program. Good morning again and welcome.
Thank you.
Yes, we'll talk about revamping public sector architecture, and una ministry na they in charge for the public service reforms. What will they talk about now?
Thank you very much. When we talk about, first of all, I'll try to dissect what we mean. People can always misconcept the difference between civil service and public service. Now, the public service now the broader aspect of all Sierra Leoneans them, would they work under government and would they receive money from the consolidated fund and would they provide services for the people of this country. Now, within the broader public service, you get different other sects them. So we'll get, for example, you get the judiciary, you get parliament. But within that, you go to another subset what they call the civil service. Now, the civil servant, then those are the people when then they run the day-to-day administration of governance. So we can refer to them as the bureaucracy of permanency, meaning then are permanent people who then did it, then they work, government go, government come, they always did it. So the broader public service encompasses every individual where they work for government and where they receive money from the consolidated fund. So when you talk about those institutions where the constitution creates the public service, those institutions that are created by act of parliament, they are part of the public service. Those institutions we call commissions, agencies, they are all part of the public service. The police, the military, the teachers, you name it, everybody would work for government and would they receive money. Even them experts, they would come out of the country. I can attend you and they give you as counterpart funding from government in consolidated fund. You are part of the public service. So this now the crop of people when are then responsible for run the operations of government and deliver for the people of this country. So the president say we need for look at those structures, because we see of one feed salon, meaning that then people then get for deliver on the feed salon. So we get for look at them and see how we able to revamp them, reforms, and set this system ablaze for the way we deliver for the way.
So the reforms they talk about whether the judiciary, parliament, police, the military, and anybody else will work under government. That's the public service and the umbrella body for even the civil service people within the, and now they in charge for revamp now this sector. How far una don't go and how we don't elect so far?
Yeah, thank you very much. When we get this assignment, the first thing what we do now forget we meetings with all the regulators of the public service. So you get the Public Service Commission, you get the Human Resource Management of what they call HRM, you get the Cabinet Secretariat, you get the Public Service Reform Unit, you get the Wages and Compensation Commission, you get the Teaching Service Commission, and all those commissions. Then we try to get a meeting with them for let them understand what in the president want for let we do, and what in the medium term for let we do. So when I come, we try for let we know say the ministry not an implementation ministry. Rather, we roll now for coordinate. So they provide the political and technical leadership for make sure we revamp the public service. And one way they revamp the public service now for those reforms. So once we don't get a meeting, they with them people don't meet and don't understand, say we know they can do their work. Rather, we can coordinate and provide the leadership for them make sure we reforms. Then we start for them we look what in them they do already. So one of the told them they do now for developing a public service policy and act. The constitution was very clear that the Public Service Commission get the responsibility for regulate the entire public service. But the constitution itself and any other legislation not tell we would that constitute the public service then. So for over 50 years, the Public Service Commission and all other institutions don't be the preside over just the civil service as just one and not the entire public service. So in 2010, the PSC get an executive clearance for develop a Public Service Act where for tell we who that constitute the public service and how for run the public service. But since then we don't they get slow for doing. So when we then create the ministry, we meet the EU already, they fund the project. So we don't facilitate that now. We don't facilitate that process for develop the first time in this country for get a Public Service Act. So the policy is ready. Hopefully by next month they go to cabinet for they'll get the authority now for they'll start for develop the bill for they're going to parliament. The next one are the Civil Service Code. The Civil Service Code now they tell you what and what in civil servant them for do and what and not for do. The Civil Service Code and they tell you what in civil service then civil servant then forget, what and not forget, how for manage them, which kind of process then forget, wait out them from so now that the civil service, but it's obsolete. We all know so the Gender Act 2022 give lot of recommendations them for people them. One now say for the woman them forget 30% representation in all decisions. When we do a scooping of the civil service, we find out say they not even get up to 15% of women representation in the civil service. So we need to upgrade that document. They will talk about incentives, for example, paternal leave. The Gender Act they tell we say woman then for go for 6 months maternal leave, man then for go 6 months. It's not inside the document. So we are reviewing the document there. But most important, we are developing a national strategy for let we know what are the things that we will need for do for let we revamp the public service. So I don't think how they do presently.
So why we need reform and revamp of the public service?
Thank you very much. That's the questions we are not say very important. You know, as I say, the constitution gets some of the anomalies, yeah, and not tell you that constitute the public service. So that's now one of the reasons why we could do reforms. We need forgetting the constitution or any legislation where for tell we say the police, the military, all them people have to be part of the public service. Yeah. The second aspect has to do Africa are the youngest continent in the world. Yeah, and 62% of the population of Africa are young people. Sierra Leone are the same. About 60% of the population of Sierra Leone are young people. But when you look across the board, we're able to integrate the young people them in the public service. So there is a need for those reforms who are able to encourage the best of professionals them into the civil service. The other aspect has to do with the gender, as I talk. 51% or 52% of the population are women. The GWI Act say at every decision-making body of government, we forget not less than 30% women's representation. So that therefore be reflective on the public service. How we therefore doing that in our do reforms. We all know, so we'll talk about service delivery in the world right now is driven by technology, innovation, artificial intelligence. We don't see digitalization. Now for other countries, the way you want to get a passport, you don't need for going at immigration. We want to get your ID card. We want to apply. We want to send money. All now under now digitalization. But Sierra Leone will not even get 5% digitalization with the public service delivery system. So if the world they go digital, the world technology don't take the service delivery, then Sierra Leone we say for follow suit. So we say for make sure say we premise we own service delivery on technology so that people then will able to get access to services in this country seamlessly. So these are some of the things that we don't inform the reform. Okay,
Mr. Minister, with all this way you explain, how we go able to describe the public service as of now?
So let me categorize them into two. Yeah, because when if I talk about the public service in the entirety, then I no go do justice to the discussion. When you get a civil service across the globe, then are the bureaucracy, then are the bureaucracy of permanency, then are the people who they run the day-to-day operations of government. If you feel say them people and they well capacitate them, empower them, you see say they not get the incentive for let them deliver, then the whole government hostage. And over the years now that we don't see, for over 20-30 years we get the best of plans that we don't get for this country. But because we get a civil service, we're not well incentivized, we not get the motivation, we not get the capacity, because they don't see say they don't create another cadre above them where they get more money past them. So you get a lot of commissions, you get a lot of agencies, you get institutions where they don't create, where they get more money past them, we get more incentive past them, they don't become demotivated. And once they become demotivated, corruption they can inside. You they see lethargy they can inside. They know they will perform well. If no matter how much money government key, you know they will see the result after them saying if you go to the hospitals then you see problem, you go to the schools you see problem, because the one way for deliver on behalf of government, then already don't become angry and don't vex, they don't become demotivated because they don't see another kid that will get more money out for them. So that's why you see we get problem with development. So what we do in this reform now for make sure say can we do incentives for them? Which kind of incentive for provide for them? How do we do the grading system so that no matter which grade you do, which ministry or which office you work, we all get the same salary? The only difference will be between two now the allowances. So those are the things then we don't create. But the entire you get the other cadre then we call the broader public service. Some of them they are doing well. And you see that's why you have the commission, the teaching service commission, the law parliament service commission. They do well, but the hub of governance still get problem because then they feel say they're not able to take care of them. So that's why this concentration for these first 2-3 years is how do we strengthen the civil service. Then from there now we can move to the broader aspect.
They come back to you continue for Steve with Amara Kalon, Minister of Public Administration and Political Affairs. For can tell we how the revamping they go and what are the key structures the moon they look within this revamping. Inside the studio, I want to welcome we other studio guests. We are Charles Silva, lecturer Political Science Department from the College University of Salone. Good morning and welcome to the program. Good morning, Salone.
Yeah, good morning and good morning, listeners.
Yeah, today we'll look at the public service, the role of the public service for effective delivery of civil and public service to the people of Salone. As a lecturer now the Political Science Department from the College University of Salone, and you don't they work now the APRM, we now they support the revamping of this the revamping of the public service. How you can describe the public service now the country as it is?
Well, the public service, just like the minister say, we will forget and straight. The public service, some scholars can even say, nine are the state in the room. Just like when somebody get for press about thing for electricity. So, and let we know say government can give money. In fact, we can say we get for pay for government. When they can do that budget, they can allocate money. And the public service, just like the name they say, the only way they measure and how they deliver services to the people. We are glad you had to listen to the Honorable Minister where they talk about capacity, and not only in terms of logistics, but they take home. Because mind you, people they go school or people they learn skill and for make them really deliver themselves socially and economically. I'm glad the way himself don't mention that for say the motivation is too low. And that now something will be on the discuss at some other quarters, because you will get somebody, for instance, you get first degree, the other person get first degree. This person, by the time you know, you don't build a house, you get a hands-on salary, a colleague of his. Sometimes you can even you get a PhD or you get masters. And me think say enough for be that way, because the rationale here not to only, in addition to delivering services to the general public, it will also bring people on board. Qualified people, you know, qualification they go with arrogance. Some of the time, then small infighting the way we can get in our institutions, then all now that can cause them. Because, for instance, somebody qualified past me, then take me, then put me on top of that person, they already psychologically, even though the person will go highly qualified, not care, but the person will in know say I'm the boss, but really there are people who always qualified past me, they think and they all not can find so much. So now that I can say, but as it is, the public service, of course, it needs revamping. It don't do since colonial time, we don't do, but mind you, the public service they deal with people, and Sierra Leone is part of a global community. We they see what in they happen on other parts of the world. So the demands of the general public, the Sierra Leonean populace, don't change with time. With the technological advancement we don't count at the world. We dey see Abuja, we dey see Kenya, we dey see what they happen in other countries, and so that they create more demand. The people then they become enlightened. Gone are those days who feel say because people they not go school, they not sabi anything. The education where people then they get informally, sometimes unconsciously, too boku. So we say every reason for revisit the public service. we get for modernize am, so to speak. If they do well, but I think say you get for step up, for catch up with the current trends of affairs in the whole world, because the demand on great.
We will come back to you. We will go for a short break inside the program. We will come. You will come tell we from your own perspective who can change them you expect for see inside this revamping of the public sector. The program Good Morning Salon they continue. You will listen to Charles Silva, lecturer public political science department at Frobe College, University of Salon.
Now we continue with the studio guest Charles Silva as we don't talk for the different name. They don't talk on the topic where we don't what they discuss inside the program. So revamping the public sector architecture in a one-time president view in Big Five game changer. Then you know somebody who don't be around for long term now. Revamping the public sector architecture. This timely.
Yeah, really timely. You're always timely, because one thing in fact we can see public administration or the public sector, all them study them, they fall under social sciences where they deal directly with man. Man they change. For instance, if you left by 2020, by the end of 2024, perhaps it will be quite different from what you will see now, because changes they take place. Now that make will not be absolute theory. The only thing more we make him say, because for making able that doctor way they say that doctor they good, now in diagnosis can good. Because when you don't diagnose, you don't actually know the cause of the sickness, you can do the right prescription. So as we all they talk about revamping the public sector, that is to say we make it more effective for deliver goods for the general public, and the revamping here means we they put out to what in they exist, so that service delivery will be fast, then it will be appropriate, it will be effective. Because mind you, the success of the public service or the civil service or the bureaucracy, all they talk about, like I say, now in the engine room. Yeah, if that engine room they know they work effectively, definitely we'll get better thing. If the whole light can go off, now one individual therefore go to that place, they put her off, then the whole place get darkness. Then he switch her on again, then he can. So now so the civil service day. Me just they insist say we really get for take time for make sure say we don't actually define. I repeat, we don't actually define the issues, the critical issues there, not to imaginary issues. We know, but when we really go on the ground, we find out what in the happen. We go say yes in terms of remuneration, that gap the day we go create problem, but perhaps other problems and they will pass even past that. The very environment. Mind you, let's not forget say this public sector who they talk about now in the implement government projects. Now the implementing wing of government. In fact, now one of some of the definitions then that in the implement government programs. They talk about the big five thing that the civil service get for translate what in the executive branch of government they take that decision in terms of policy. It go to parliament, if that need arise, then go parliament approve, and once that don't happen. We go to the ministry. It's supposed for really now the civil servants then or the bureaucrats then they take over. Now that make even every ministry the permanent secretary or the director general, as the case may be, now normally now the vote controller. Because these people then they work with different governments then we have been in the APR, have been the Go State House almost quite often. The person will be in there, for instance, where I meet, where they sit down at the office day for enter to the secretary to the president. He been there at that same office in 2001 when me joined the civil service. I spent 2 years before they left commodity. That means then did it. So as we do the revamping also, it also fine for me we actually look at certain things back. What in that mean? Make them look at the relationship between the executive branch when then the ministers then working then at the various ministries. Every ministry, every department or agency fall under a ministry. Now I make them can say ministries, departments, and agencies. Then can just call them one. The minister, now the political head, and now the overlaw. So we really get for come out with well-defined rules, rules of engagement between the political leadership of the ministry and the professionals.
There we talk about.
What they say the rule, the ministers, for instance, now then get for go cabinet, now then they champion everything. All the things we see they happen. Now make the minister there. If now documentary get for go before parliament tomorrow, now this minister get for go present, and just like other ministers they do on behalf of their ministries. But so what they try for say that is their rule, and then rule now for ensure say the things go according to the agreement where they all make in a cabinet. So now that we get to understand that. Mr. Kalon is here, but he's also doing that alongside with other ministers, because we can't think in a cabinet and they all get for don't think. But the point that they try for stress here, I see, they also get for draw that line, make they really know what in are the limits of this government official, wey dey na the ministry, wey na a professional, and wetin also na the limits of the political head of that ministry. Because mind you, for make the things happen, then two people there. Well, I say then two people there now, the political leadership, the political head of the ministry, and the officials of that ministry, they then all for work hands in glove, so that government business will go before them, we able for deliver services.
What do you think say don't be some of the factors them we don't the ambog national development in terms of the service delivery in the public sector?
Well, a very broad question we ask. It got to do with political culture, safe. Because for make things happen, when we talk about the civil servants and what they talk about the ministers and what they talk about, we put them all together, they are less than 1,000. In fact, if you consider the key players, then the heads of those ministries, when are directors or permanent secretaries, then few. Now we boku. So like all these good intention where governments don't come up with, we're very good. Now we all get for put and we really get for depoliticize the civil service. Where I say depoliticize, they get for stay out. They are Sierra Leoneans, like everywhere.
So you think say the civil service politicized now?
Well, I know they well. Yeah, me and you know, not put one anymore. All I try for say, we don't see instances because one if you go now a clinic, you dey shame for tell the doctor what in are the problem. He go give you the wrong prescription. If na you belle the heart, you for say na me belle the heart. We don't see instances in which problems they arise with the some government officials, the way they play their role and that kind of thing. Some they feel so insecure on the job. Where I say the politician, you when are that public servant, I think we forget that law. When it comes to political struggles, you get right for go votes like any other citizen of the country once you're eligible. But when it comes to political struggles, that is for instance, when they say elections, you get for really make sure you stay away from it. Because mind you, not only they determine would I get for become that minister tomorrow, would I get for become president. Now the totality of Sierra Leoneans there. So when I talk about the politicization, we really get from put stringent laws and perhaps part of the revamping for also look into that. You completely stay out. For instance, if they go for a campaign, you're not a permanent secretary, you have no business going there. You know that's I mean. You don't get business for go there because people will become suspect.
Yeah, in relation to what my colleague asks, you say, I give for describe if the politics then are the civil service because we don't see plenty time we can get election campaign them permanent secretary and other people them can well political close them. So in all, you don't work in the civil service for long term. So I go for describe them right now.
How are they describe them? He always did. They always do. He always did. Even right now, even the past elections, they been done. They happen. And mind you, like what can they say again? Because it's very critical. There is no way you go say the civil service not get anything to do with politics. It is in fact there is a political definition of the public service. Now then they translate government business. Governments now they give the money. The ones that when are the cook, now the civil servants then are the cook. Not all the ministers then get for run after that. The Minister of Agriculture, for instance, is on a free time. He can go to the provinces one thing, but you get officials and when they at the provinces in your own business for make sure say would not forget bike for moving from point A to point B can go. Then get right for participate in politics in so far as it comes to service delivery because now they handle the money within they give them. But like I say, even political discussions, you get for be very careful. We get now that I just say for them self you safeguard because that man get for feel secured on in job. Just like what the minister been they say, what think can happen? That insecurity on the job. In fact, they pay because of the job situation at the country. People can cope with her. But that aspect where that man or that woman they go to that office, they feel say me and this person here, I'm not glad for me or I'm not glad for work with this person here. Now one of the worst things that way can affect the civil. Then call it English, then can say bureaupathology. That is, you don't count at this 98.1. You take and say this person here when I immediate supervisor. In fact, now the word now people they know they use the word boss any longer. Then can say supervisor. Yes, because all the things they me boss, they know they use it again. They don't go out of vogue now. Now then they use supervisor. If you're not permanent secretary, you they supervise the rest of the other staff. That day. So we also therefore make sure say we take measures. Of course, let will not be over ambitious. It not therefore happen overnight. Sick way don't depend somebody for the past long time business we deal with here, but we have to stop at some point. So now a very good beginning, but as we go along with the measure of success, we also get for make sure what's in the success. I hope say we get for really get time bound. We even need a lock frame so that if we say, for instance, for the whole of 2024, what will we able to achieve? So at the end of 2024, we will say, yes, we don't do A, B, C, and D. 2025, we don't do A, B, C, and D. We therefore take her in that manner, so that at the end of the day, we will not go to, but what you will not be able to achieve.
Okay.
Because many a time when you bring change back, change na patient, na small.
Okay.
Yeah.
When we come back to you, they engage you for your thought on what you want for see now this revamping for tap some of them years so we don't highlight as we don't be the challenge over the past year them now public service now the country. In name na Charles Silva, lecturer political science department from a college University of Salone. We still get the minister for public administration and political affairs, winner Amara Kalon. You don't listen to Charles Silva, a lecturer of University of Salone from a college. You don't highlight in your think about the public service. Are we there? What you want for see now the public service as somebody we they into political science lecturing. As the minister, what do you make up of your statements? Them any recommendations?
Yeah, well, you know, we when it is discussed, it discussed out of passion. Yeah, because it don't dey inside it, so you exactly know what it don't do. Me say we don't dey inside the civil service. Then now I at the broader public service. So on both sides of the aisle, instead of both sides of the aisle, it don't do this. So you know exactly what did happen. So the discussions, the way they give are real, nothing wrong with it. They're all correct. Because when we talk about political interference, it has to do with the individual themselves, what they call themselves civil service. How they position themselves. We all are political animal. But the civil service code, rules and regulations, what they review now, not allow them for let them show themselves out in support of any political party or belonging to politics. Yeah. Also, how do we the politicians them? How do we approach civil service itself? Where you go na the offices there, the political head and the head of policy na the minister, the permanent secretary and the direct advisor to the minister on administration. Yeah, you get in other staff there. So that relationship between the administrator and the political leader get for be clear. Because the political leader get an assignment we don't take from the president. The president told us, don't say, I don't give this authority for go manage this portfolio for me, for deliver A, B, and C in 5 years' time based on the manifesto committee we don't make. The minister, they come with that kind of zeal for make sure they voting them for do it for happen. Now, the administrator and your responsibility for say there are processes and procedures and protocols within the brighter system where if you want to do A, B, and C, you get to do A, B, and C. Now, the conflicts can be. So, once those conflicts then it has to do with how they understand this. So, as the political people, how do we understand the codes? How do we understand the processes? How do we deal with issues like that? Wherein the administrator, they tell you the processes, but you want for them you deliver because time they in your favor. So it's correct. But we what we do and now as a ministry and waiting the president will ask we now for make sure they will do the reforms. Are the institutions correct? Do we all the institutions of government of this country, do we really need them? It's a question we they try for answer.
Say they're not for day at all. One of them the Ministry of the Western region, where people still don't know the role, or people still question the role of this ministry.
So that's why the president in your humble self don't say, can we have it as a pillar? If it not be get the political will, if it not ready for do one, it not be for put and day. That's why I don't create a whole ministry for do that work there for and make the recommendations then for Turam. For say, Mr. President, we don't find out this mandate for this person, this job description for this institution, this mandate, they're not fit, they're not aligned with the UT thinking. So we recommend for let A, B, and C be happen. That is the recommendations we did. And there is I can tell you there is a very strong political will around this. Because the president himself knows, say, if we not get right the public service, the feed salon or the work. If we not get right the public service, the human capital development not the work. Because the teachers them, if they not get the capacity, they not get the motivation, we not get the right institution where the monitor them, we not be able to deliver on the human capital.
So far in the revamping or the review, una do identify any institutions them will una go recommend to president say then two institutions they play the same role we need for
So,
redundant one.
so in December, I push a cabinet paper for them to allow me and the Public Service Reform Unit for do management and functional review of MDs. Now the MFRs are underway. We don't begin get reports, and the report then don't go to the steering committee. How they look at those recommendations we don't make. We call that a scooping. We just a scoop for let us see few institutions them, and we will make recommendation to Mr. President. Why we could come out to the bigger picture we get for do. So yes, we don't begin see, but again, even though you get conflicting mandates, conflicting policies, but also they look at the back end again about relevance. So we look at the mandate, because not they only look at whether they get the same mandate, we also look at the relevance on the ground, on how they deliver. So there are a lot of indicators they will use for make recommendation as to whether this institution for collapse or this for go under in not for be an agency, but for go as a department under a ministry. So those are the things, the indicators, and then they inform we as to which recommendations they will make.
Okay, we come to the Charles Silva, lecturer, Political Science Department from Bay College, University of Salone. You earlier talk about the challenges them with the public service to get now. As somebody we now a lecturer in political science and itself don't the system now the public service system. What thing you think say for the inside the revamping for ensure say the public service be effective for service delivery?
Yeah, there is revamping like now for overhaul the entire system positively. Like I say entirely for make it able for cope with the emerging challenges then. We will not get control over them, inevitable, because modernization said they come at a cost. But something they will go just one for sure. Perhaps also because like what they do the thing, they are pretty sure the ministry and other stakeholders then go down. They also the land, they also they copy from other sides them. But one time I've been get the luxury for going to administrative staff college in Nigeria, ASCOM. I go there because I've been get a friend and take me there. I've been in Nigeria. Then you rule how they can do whether you get all the qualifications in the world. If you go inside the mainstream civil service, that is to say the one where they can go as cadet, you get for go for 2 years now that college there. It's a very big college. It is very close to the boundary with the border of Benin and Nigeria. Then they do that one day, irrespective of your qualification. Because sometimes, like a MSSF now 2001, where I joined the civil service, I mean, don't just left college and not get job experience and the like. So then can do them things then they. I think say that because when you talk about capacity, the facility go there, you will get the person every other thing, but also get for need the know-how. I know say we get for also consider that for see how best. And there is also even the need, because mind you, the public service, not they work in isolation. The public service they work directly with the executive branch of government. Without that, I want for me clear. So perhaps even then some there in service training, induction training, and this one not to one of program. We therefore they do one at a regular basis so that people will know exactly what it entail. All them things then they get for take into conditions. But just like I've been saying, not to think now for say we not go able from, because mind you don't not give yourself a tax where go be more now. We let they go small. Just like where the minister talk, for instance, we they talk about certain institutions, then they really where then they conflict or then they overlap with other institutions, and then they tell on money. They even there, not only the financial aspect, they confuse the people then. For instance, if you don't get something where they talk about local government, we get then some of them things they can become units under the respective ministry. But as we discuss today, I know we're going to that, but they get one ministry perhaps in one way you get 5 other things, then say this they regulate this confusion they. We all now we don't know, we don't see instances where some of heads of them parastatals they get conflict with even the minister, all of which is not good, because at the end of the day the people suffer. I think say the presidents and in team they think of this thing and for the people, because the money where in this country and for everybody. The one they way Chris now, the one they even the woman they way them they work on the street, them people then they honor, we all get the money, not to one individual getter. So it's all about managing the resources well. Because if for it just stand like we within a college and ourselves, we can't begin to make this. Now they wait and see law department, everything we get for do with law for the under law department with one head. But when you have too many heads, that can create problem. But again, we get for be conflict sensitive as how we do one. We get for be conflict sensitive in the sense with the manager, we get for make her as transparent as possible, and we really get for educate the general public, because we get most of we get the tendency for say no, and they just want to get rid of that person. They just get rid of that person. So we get for be very very sensitive. Then we really get for pre-tester. We will not we get for swallow boku. So until if we start with one agency or one ministry, we make sure say we don't really reform and we don't put the structure of that ministry. Everybody say, oh, this is okay. If challenges and they we don't learn them from just one ministry, but we will not take all the ministries together. If we say we do that, we run the risk for at the same time also wastages can come. It just sound like where you want for do a survey. If now 1 million or 10,000 people you want for target, you know, go print 10,000 questionnaire altogether. In case you're gonna defeat it, you find out say the questionnaire where you print, where you don't make, you not even they solicit the information. Already you got to discard that 10,000 questionnaire. But if you just start with, let's say 100, that cost will be mixed now. So now that moment you go say.
When they look at the revamping public sector architecture, we now the public service reforms, we now the Ministry of Public Administration and Political Affairs they in charge. Earlier you make mention of the broad umbrella of the public service and people or the offices them we under public service. Two of them are the judiciary and the police. What kind of reform or revamp would they see now then two sectors here so?
So thank you very much. The judiciary, you know, an arm of government, and then get the young commission, so they are working. So the reform of the public service and the establishment of, not necessarily means say all those institutions don't work in with the do them. I don't see them before, but we follow those institutions so that they do the work with them for do. So if we identify a problem, we discuss them with them and then go ahead. If they self-identify an issue, we discuss them, then go ahead for do the reforms. So at the judiciary level, a lot of reforms don't take place, but still continue. Then they can do the 5th generation national strategy for see how they're going to expand on their outreach and also their capacity for able to deliver. We don't see the reforms don't take place. We are in the courts are now they almost across the country. As at the talk so now, then they can review the Criminal and Procedure Act. We don't make with prisons, they don't overload. Even if na granite have somebody thief now, the police then they make the person go na prison go na court. So the Criminal and Procedure Act, they look at those cases they would then say then cases not necessarily mean say they need for go na court. Therefore able handle that at the police level, at the family level. They also they can look at how they can able expand on their outreach for make sure so they able touch every side and people then get access, because then say injustice anywhere is justice delayed and justice denied. So then they make sure say they reach everywhere, and then they can expand on them, and then they can strengthen also the other institutions then within the legal framework. The police themselves get their own reforms the way they do. So the reforms not necessarily mentioned at the ministry they do. But the institutions then we monitor them, follow them, make sure say if we identify any issue, if they identify any issue, we all sit down, we ask them, and then follow them do them, then we follow up on them.
In terms of the capacity building, they part of revamping. What do they talk about in terms of capacity building, and how now they do that?
So basically, we'll talk about capacity. Talk about the enhancement of the human capital itself, because the entire public service, what they talk about, is about the people. Now the people that they form the institutions, the people that then the law they for. So if the people then they not get that capacity for run the institution, if the people they not get that capacity for adhere to the rules, if the people not get that capacity for deliver, there becomes a problem. So let's for example, we get to call job families in the for example in the civil service. We get the accountants them, we get the procurement officers them, we get the HR officers them. These are job families. Do they have the capacity? That's why we're doing a study for let know whose kind capacity they get. You know, different procurement tools and instruments and don't come up. Toolkit and don't come. Are they offer with them? Where for able get procurement seamlessly. For make sure say procurement not to manual business again, for go begin write paper, go take big book on a bid, say this is a big document, you care and go, people then get for go sit down for begin reader, you get that waste of papers there, everything. But do we go electronics? Okay. We do procurement, and do we have the capacity for able operate that kind of system they electronically. So those are the capacity we talk about where we need for let them get for able deliver on what in way.
Under the office of the president, we get the public sector reform units. Themselves they do reform na the public sector. What's the difference or similarity between this office and the public administration and political affairs ministry?
So in 2010, there was a need for let them do reforms in the public service. So then create the Public Service Reform Unit. At that time, there was no ministry. Yeah. So it was created under the office of the president for do reforms in the public service. So 14 years after, the ministry has been created. And the ministry now, they work with the Public Service Reform Unit as a technical wing. So the PSRU is now a technical wing under the ministry for carry out the reforms. So for example, then they undertake management and functional review of all MDs. As I said earlier, the ministry is providing the political and technical leadership. And the technical leadership will produce, that's why we have the PSRU as the technical team. They have the capacity, they have the manpower. So for example, management and functional review, then they pandu on all MDs, then for understand the structures, the systems, the processes, based on the mandates of those institutions then, and make recommendations as appropriate.
Mr. Minister, in relation to the recommendations the way they talk about where the public sector reform units done, they do not ministry, department and agency them. We see of late them be doing at the office of the chief minister, the Ministry of Tourism, and some of the things they made them fair not now that people and they will get some qualification but not qualify for the position with their all capacity don't be one big challenge. The office of the chief minister, people and they will hold some position, they will not for all so in this all with the thing they don't fair not. What will get for do for the with the different recommendations they wouldn't get for Guna in doing this reform?
So when the MFR report come out, you send them back to the institution where they do. Once they validate them, we go to call the National Steering Committee of the Public Service, headed by the Secretary to President. In that committee, you get all the institutions who they regulate the public service, the PSRU, the HRM, the Cabinet Secretariat, the PSRU, the PSC, and the Ministry, or we don't create so. Now we sit on there, together with the Director General of the Foreign Affairs. Now then we sit on there and say, okay, this report and these recommendations, then correct. Fine. We take and once we approve, I now go to Cabinet. Cabinet subcommittee decide on that report. If they agree on them, they push into cabinet. Once cabinet approve, it become binding. Any recommendation the way cabinet don't approve now, it become binding and it's going to be implemented. And most of those MFR don't reach at cabinet level and implementation they go on. Because cabinet has the absolute authority for accept or for reject part or full of the report or recommendations as indicated in the MFR.
So in this reform on they do, side on a put where strong logo day. If for example somebody go hold this position and no say where they no say not qualify for this particular position in all and then they receive salary way enough for receive. Then other person they do somebody in job when in government don't take for do that job they any strong law they or not go able for pull that person they that particular position in relation to the recommendation then.
So if the recommendation says so, and at the highest level, they go through all the procedures to explain, and cabinet say that action needs to be taken. Why not? It has to, because it's a first, it's a recommendation. That recommendation get to go through scrutiny and for them to understand the dynamics around the recommendations. And that make you have different stages. You have the steering committee, you have the cabinet subcommittee, and you have the cabinet. So if one miss and the other no go miss. If two miss and one go able to see the reason. Just like I say, those recommendations at times they look out from a flip end. If we say this person be so or this institution be so, we look at the other end back. So we not just look at on face value, but they go purely for understand the dynamics around the recommendations and that make we take action. So yes, action is taken if cabinet say it so be it.
In charge of revamping the public sector architecture, whether it be from the public sector reform unit or the public administration and political affairs ministry, una all na appointees of the presidents. How bold una they for do una work for ensure say una reform the public sector without fear that una go lost una job, being that una get appointment from the president?
That's why we have the laws of this country. The laws of this country, you don't compromise them. The law of this country now give power to the president for their appointment. The same law now say if somebody do A, B, and C, now so A, B, and C for do. So the law is supreme. That's why the Constitution give powers to the Public Service Commission for advise the president on appointment. Yeah. So if the president appoints me, it not necessarily means say because he appoints me, so I can't do what I feel for do. There are laws binding being a minister. And if you fall short of those responsibilities, action is going to be taken. And we don't see where they don't shack ministers them, they don't shack public servants them when they fall short of their responsibility.
So the question is, how bold do they for do this reform here so?
Well, so it has to do with again the waiting the individuals them. Let me talk for myself as an individual. Yeah, I don't work in the public service. I work in the civil service. I work in the public service. I don't work in the private sector. I'm back in the public service as a minister. I've seen it all. I've been a victim of circumstances in the civil service. I've seen wherein things then don't go wrong. So if we want to set this country, if I go back now my hometown Kabbalah, then I seek the, then I no need for wrong time free tongue, then we need to do the change. We need to do the reforms. If me picking and then I now, then there are 10 schools. If I want for let them get the best of education, I no need for care them go to another country, then we need to do the reforms. It's about a passion. So some of we do them work there not to because we want money. I do sabi the work, I get money, then they pay me well. I don't bill us, I don't settle my life. But the president don't call we say, we can make a change. Let we make a difference. Let we get a new Sierra Leone. So that's why we will get this appointment. If you see in the last 1 year, you see the speed, you see the passion, you see the enthusiasm, what would they put? Because if we don't do it today, we have a decision to make. And that decision, we either sacrifice the next generation and accept quick wins, or we sacrifice our own generation and we accept sustainable development.
The reforms then there.
Very transparent, I can show you, because that's why we not look at the individuals. We look at the systems. We not go for individuals. If during the process of the reforms, the systems call individuals, fine. But we have systems and processes we can look at. If we find somebody, we not to ACC where they can investigate. No, we look at what is on the ground, what need to be done. Do we need for change the law? We change the law. Do we need to change the structure? We change the structure. Do we need to change the system? We change the system. Do we need to ask that some institutions, we collapse them? We make the recommendation. That's what we do. We are not dealing with the individuals. When it comes to deal with what the individuals then do, then you have the HRMO. We get that responsibility for deal with individuals of their actions within while they do their work.
So continue for the waiting at the program like I'm with you, Mr. Silva. You don't hear waiting the minister don't talk in the year of implementing the recommendation them and see how transparent this go be. So in your own word, and you don't work now the civil service. So what do you make up of this in the year of transparency? Like for example, some of the appointees and political appointees and then they can do this reform. According to the minister, if you not qualify, if you need hold some position enough for all, obviously if cabinet agree, then go pull you this. What do you make up of this day of transparency?
I think say a very good move, but like I mean they say not to think we don't get for be over ambitious, you get for take with time for overcome them because what's our glad where the minister really emphasize say not to individual. And we believe say now one of the problems then that at the country will be not the make. If they target that individual, so tell the man where they target in life we don't left now this world, you don't even reach 5. So that man they can die, he left the world. But when you challenge a system, you really change the system. The ones that will be they survive in that system, you don't render them already redundant. So now that's I say, now that me gather from what you say, when me feel saying a very, very good one. That when you challenge the system, we were the benefit from that system. Well, once you change the system, you don't make me redundant because people they benefit from that system. And I will not be surprised, sir. We get for face challenges from people because even when they always they use that word, I say, well, you can say this is a rotten system. That rottenness, people then they benefit from indirectly. So you get forget that resistance from them all. But like we say, so now that make me say in the first place, I say we get for be very, very conflict sensitive in everything what they do. When I ask about transparency, the minister don't adequately respond to that. But there is one thing. This thing where they talk about so revamping the civil service or the public service. Now we're talking about appointments and the like. It gets a long way. They even get implications for this investment in human capital. What is the investment in human capital? Sometimes people then they pay. Some people then they right now they not collect. So most of them students then they are paying. Then they meet you, then they tell you something, they say, they say, I'm responsible for myself. Some people then in this country and I then pay their own way, go study in America or elsewhere because they don't uplift themselves. So if that man don't invest in himself or even government self don't invest in the individual, that individual himself for realize, say, indeed, I don't see what I don't do with my effort.
Okay.
So now that make positioning very, very important.
Video back and look at una message them when I don't send on 0779811981. This one from Aruna Kamara and Wellington. They say, good morning, Minister Amara Kalon. From my own political view of your ministry, your role is to help the MDs to develop their services charter in order to develop their functions on time.
And this one from a Facebook page from Super Caps Food. They say public administration is key to successful operation of governance in sectors of government. But with all of this, the key lacking tool here is communication between government and the people, especially towards service delivery. 2 months now, no driving license, and nobody knows what is the problem. As SLRSA, the service providers did not explain to the people what is the problem.
This one say the public reform is very timely and strategic. I'm glad to hear that systems must be focused on and not persons. Bro Silva is also correct to preempt resistance to the change so that government will be prepared to handle the situation cautiously. From BW Bokari.
And this one, they say, now, Mr. Minister, you the advocate for better and advanced working service for civil servant them. How you sure say civil servant them ready for the new advanced system? We go make some of them not able involved by corruption and do other bad things them.
Still on with 0779819819 say in reference to the civil service code, I would like to inquire about the measures being taken to ensure equitable implementation of these codes across all deserving cadres. It is crucial that all professionals within the same cadre are treated fairly, as was the case with the provision of fuel to medical doctors of grade 9 and above. I kindly request clarification on the steps being taken to address this matter and ensure equal treatment for all deserving cadres.
For Mystic Nadwazak, they say the welfare of workers in any institution is very vital. In as much as the ministry has done such an engagement, they should also focus on proper monitoring, because most of our brothers and sisters are getting bad condition of service at their place of work. Some have worked for years still on contract.
Okay, we still continue for look at more messages. Them this one from Sylvester T.A. Renner on our Facebook page. They say, good morning, listeners. I would be grateful if actions are expedited to transform the public sector to compete with international standard.
And this other one, they say, hope say waiting the minister don't talk, not see where we go see. Action no good in a black and white paper. This one they come out from Mohammed.
This one, Mr. Minister, the service delivery now government offices and private sector offices to the public are very poor. So you have to stop politicizing our service delivery.
This one say revamping, they talk about giving new and improved form structure or appearance. In this context, what exactly we need to revamp?
Alusign content, they say the reason why governments in and out are not performing is because the public service is not well incentivized. The best professionals you can get in the private sector, there is no motivation to work for government. Those who perchance decide to work in the public sector are merely doing it because they don't have any opportunity, not because they love what they are doing. To revamp the public sector, government has to make salaries and other enumerations competitive with the private sector. This one they come up from Alusign content our Facebook page.
Well, now the messages, then that's where we gave before reading inside the program. Then we come over to Charles Silva. You don't listen to some of the messages, then you go respond to them.
Yeah, thank you so much, man. I think say most of the issues then we then raise, the minister be don't talk about them, because me they talk from the theoretical point of view. As now 2 years I spent as civil service, I don't come out 20 years ago. What would they do in a classroom? But in now they talk about what in the really they happen at the ground. So I think say we can't go talk about that. But what I go say generally, just like what everybody they say, they just they justify, They just they try for provide justification for this move, that there is need for maybe revamp, there is need for maybe restructure, there is need for maybe challenge some system. Now a whole status quo with the challenge in the best interest of the people. But like I say, what the key word here is, we know the challenge not to individuals and the challenge or groups, but for challenge the system. When the system, once you're able to get the system right, everybody go position himself properly. like all what he making advice, the concerns the way they don't raise, I think say that any good well-meaning Sierra Leone get them concerns then they. But again, somebody they say for may we make salaries competitive so that people then go prefer people can even leave the private sector for Canada, the public sector we get for be very mindful there. The private sector then a profits then they maximize. But the public service or the civil services what they talk about now welfare then they maximize for make the way they talk about so most of the things then we government they do not to income generating institutions. You know time like that man we go they sell rest we then say na petrol business don't can I change out to petrol government get for take care of all of that. I think say fine for my people then know about that. Most of the time the expectations that we can get for government the private man no one know. In what happen, what not happen. In fact, if that man the way they said in fear, if there is an increase in the cost of fuel, where you get stock for a better. Rather, would they look up to government for make it try for see how best they were able for cushion that. So we get for draw that line there. Not to excuse you, but we get for me. But what I go say no more, the public service. We don't do in this culture for quite long for let we change here, not to think we will get for do overnight, and the general public we all get for be improved. Because even when they talk about corruption at the public service or anywhere, now somebody get for offer for make down they happen. So we get for be very mindful, we get for assist government officials, like I've been saying them few. If we not get a Ministry of Agriculture or we not get a Ministry of Health, we see say then they misuse an ambulance for instance. We go first that person there, but we get police everywhere. You get right for me. Now, so, and that's how they try for.
Okay, thank you, genuine at the program, Charles Silva. I'll come over to the minister. As you don't listen to some of the text messages, then you go respond.
Thank you very much. I think I just want to do a general response to the all because all what they ask, all what they talk is just what we want to do. So we want to encourage people and say reform of the public service not one event, it's a process. It likely not be say na make with a million 10 or again for happen. But what would they do with the premise? For that we make sure say successive ministers or government we get for come go continue on the premise. All what they say is correct. Yes, we get resistance get for day and up to now as I talk to there is resistance because change now something we not to all man want for good. Somebody want for see change but they don't want to be part of the change. Somebody don't use for Sidon aya. You say pull an aya, you get for get time for that common aya. Understand why making the common aya if I move to the next day. So we do this reform for that we look at waiting they happen. Waiting at the issues then we don't emerge at the global stage where they inform the reforms. And once we able to implement them, we'll get progressively, but most important we'll get for talk to the people of Sierra Leone that we where the Allah say thief man, some of we know the thief man them. So the question is, if you want for let the public service be good, prepare yourself. If you want to be part of the public service, not to who knows you, the brain can inside the system. Prepare yourself on what you know, so that when you come inside, you're able to do a good job. So I just want to say thank you very much, and I wish everybody well.
Thank you very much. But before you go, somebody very concerned about the civil service could indicate that.
Yeah. So that's why we have the Wages and Compensation Commission, where the world establish. They would operationalize it now. Now, in terms of salary scale, yes, there is disparity in the salary scales across the country. There is no hidden fact about that. And that's why the president was very deliberate for get the Wages and Compensation Commission for can do harmonization of salaries and compensation. But let we also understand that even if we get for do salary harmonizations, the salaries then get for be different. Because if we all the grade 9, we all get the basic salary, but we allowances then get for be different. The allowance when they get to the health sector get for be different from when they get to the military. They get for be different from when they get to the police, based upon the job families and the job when they do. Medical doctor and they go the whole day, then they on call. So you know, we go say me and the teacher will get the teacher they go there for 5 hours. The medical doctor in there on the call for 24 hours. So you're not going to expect it for the get the same allowance. But once they did at the same grade, they'll get the grade same salary.
We'll get for the get you for give updates on the public sector revamping as one are they in charge of from time to time. Plenty thank you for joining me today edition of the program. Amara Kalon, Minister of Public Administration and Political Affairs, and also plenty thank you to Charles Silva, Lecturer Political Science Department from the College University of Saloon. And today we'll be look at the role of the public service for effective delivery na the civil and public service for improve living standard of Saloon people. And plenty thank you for joining me.